The Sunday Footy Show is back with one giant arrival as GWS fires a stunning blow across the bridge. Star Jeremy Cameron tells us how. The Suns shatter the Tigers, their top four credentials questioned as coach Guy McKenna unveils the Suns' blueprint for a finals campaign. Melbourne star Mitch Clark departs indefinitely as he battles his personal demons. The man that broke the story, Damien Barrett, with the insight. While Carlton President Stephen Kernahan finally here live in the studio with our Sunday Yarn exclusive. The Magpies lick their wounds. Clinton Young tells us how they'll rebound. While brutal and violent, we bury the hatchet on one of footy's fiercest contests, the Battle of Britain. All that big news and more on your number one Sunday footy destination, the top rating Mighty Sunday Footy Show. Welcome back to season 2014 on the Sunday Footy Show. It was Shockwave Saturday, still reverberating around the competition. The Giants, the story of the morning. Jeremy Cameron, as you just saw, to join us. And the whole crew back again for a big season on the Sunday Footy Show, including the Geelong Flyer, Billy Brownless, who's with us. Brendan Goddard in for the celebrity Nathan Brown today. Damien Barrett, the, of course, top-rating and number one news journalist in the Southern Hemisphere. Matthew Lloyd, the five-time All-Australian. Shane Crawford, the Brownlow medalist, and the whole crew here to dissect this day yesterday. Shockwave Saturday, as we take a look at the results from round one, the split round, of course. Fremantle, GWS and Gold Coast. If you'd said that 2 years ago, we all would have scoffed. 70 points Friday night. The Giants in one of the biggest upsets in football history over one of the flag favourites in the Swans. And the Gold Coast last night arrived too. It was expansion day. There's no doubt about it. And there'll be plenty of fallout right across the country to that this morning. But the story yesterday, as we mentioned, was the Giants. Matthew Lloyd, you were there. Did anyone see it coming?
No one saw it coming, Hutch. I think that everyone thought they may be able to go the distance a bit longer. They play a quarter, a half last year. We thought, could they go 3 quarters? But they got in. Toby Green went at Buddy Franklin at the first bounce, got into him physically, and so they kicked the first goal through Devon Smith. They ran, they charged at Sydney players. So they were aggressive, but Bill, they matched it with their players well.
Yeah, well, I think a couple of big bodies have helped, haven't they? Big Mumford and Sons there yesterday. It was just like a tractor. He started it all. Josh Hunt and Shorey down back. They were bigger bodies and also quick. And this man here stood up nice and tall in the last quarter.
Oh, it was unbelievable. The last quarter you speak of, Bill, 6 goals 4 to 4 behind. So it was just, they ran them off their legs, BJ. I think it was the pace of the young Giants players that surprised the Sydney Swans. It was interesting. Jack didn't play. O'Keefe was a sub, and I thought they were too quick in the end.
Yeah, what's positive about that is not only that they did win, but it's the way they went about it. They were actually down, I think, in the first quarter where Sydney had those 4 or 5 goals right at the end, and then to be able to respond. And as players, they're some of the best wins, and you get the most confidence out of.
1 and zip. Have a look at the next 3 weeks here. Wayne, Crawford, have a look at this. They're 1 and zip. Remember that? They got the 4 points. St Kilda, they win that game?
Well, yeah, I think they can.
Yes or no, I'll do. Melbourne?
Correct.
And Western Bulldogs?
No.
So they'll be 3 and 1 after 4 rounds. Yeah, not a bad start.
It's quite incredible. And when you look at GWS, we knew they were going to improve, but especially those young guys coming together, all of a sudden it can be pretty rapid, and we saw it. So well done to everyone at GWS, although I'm not too happy with the result.
Hey, Lordy, disappointing day for the Swans, but disappointing day personally for Buddy Franklin. Do we read too much into what happened yesterday? Can we actually get a barometer for what happened yesterday as to how it's going to go forward this year? Or what do we take out of that performance yesterday by him?
Well, their forward structure wasn't good there, Damo, yesterday. They had Sam Reid forward and also Buddy Franklin, and I think that they need Kurt Tippett back as their key, strong forward. But the worry for me for Buddy Franklin is I believe he's played his best footy, and that was back in 2008. I think the game at the moment suits the pack-mark players like Cameron, like Travis Cloke, like Josh Kennedy. So I think when you're in the first game of a 9-year contract, that must be a worry for Sydney when I believe he's played his best footy.
You mentioned Tippett as well. There are doubts about him too. He's got knee tendonitis and he may not play in the early rounds.
Yeah, there's huge investments, aren't they? So you'd be hoping that they kick 150 between them on that investment throughout every season.
Just before we get to analysis, just to back over that, it's a 9-year, $10 million contract. And you're saying that at 26 he's past his best?
I believe he'll never get back to the heights of what he reached at Hawthorn back a number of years ago, no.
Well, if that's correct, they've got a big problem on their hands.
Well, that's my opinion. I think that's why 9 years is crazy. I think 5 years now, in my opinion, is too many.
When you say he's past his best, it's only one game.
Yeah,
but you watched him during the NAB Challenge. Do you think his marking's an issue?
And also last year. We highlighted all through last year. So I think he needs space. And in this modern game, you don't get given very much space. So that's what's affecting his productivity at the moment. But I just want to talk about the Sydney Swans and the Giants yesterday and where they have improved the GWS Giants. I want to look at where the stoppages, they won the stoppages 55-37 yesterday, the GWS Giants, and have a look at the confusion. No Kieran Jack. And Ryan O'Keefe now, John Longmire doesn't want to play him. Harry Cunningham, Tom Mitchell. What's the confusion? Callum Ward out the back. They were too good at the stoppages, and suddenly these younger players now at the Giants in and around those stoppages that have gone past the Sydney Swans yesterday. They were too good. And I just want to highlight one piece of play yesterday which summed up the way the Giants have played through the NAB Cup series and also yesterday. It was late in the game. They were steamrolling the Sydney Swans. It's just their hardness, their direct play, their run, their carry. So there's Tom Scully, kicks it in long. Look how hard Jeremy Cameron's hitting packs. Oh. What's the pressure now? Reece Shaw under pressure. They come in. Caniglio, the pressure there on Nick Smith. And then watch this one-out football. Because they're moving the footy so quick. This man, so big, strong. He's a target to kick to, and I thought that stoppage, that play there over 30 seconds summed up the dominance of the Giants.
Now, they've got some woes too, the Swans. They've lost Alex Johnson again, Damo in the reserves game 10 minutes in. And O'Keefe's the other interesting one. What's the story there, how he was left out of the side? It's fascinating.
Left out of the team for what the Swans said was a match-up, a reason. Ended up getting a late call-up and was a sub, Crawford, and you discussed this before in our meeting, that you felt that had he actually started in that game in those conditions, they'd probably win. But there's issues there, Hutchie. We asked about Ryan O'Keefe. You do not have a player of Ryan O'Keefe's step. Well, clearly there's a problem between what he thinks he's producing and what the coach thinks he can produce. And round one, after a pre-season and having the career he's had, for him to be subjected to that, it's just not Swans-like. But things aren't the Swans-like anymore. They get Tippett in, they get Buddy Franklin in, they then produce that performance. There are issues.
Croft, the Tigers have got similar woes after last night.
Yeah, very disappointing from a Tiger point of view. Their second and third quarters were quite good, but Gold Coast were up and about. I think this year everyone's expecting the Tigers to make the finals, to make top 8. They failed in the finals against the Blues, but we thought that might spur them on a bit. And it was really disappointing that they weren't able to go up there and get the 4 points. They're no good against Gold Coast. Gold Coast have certainly got the wood on the Tigers, and back to the drawing board. And Damien Hardwick, I tell you what, the coach not happy. Normally doesn't single out any individuals, but he did in this case. Round one, he's gone whack, and he'll be wanting a response, and here he is.
You know, I probably thought I'd get more out of Reece Conker and Brandon Ellis today, but unfortunately they just didn't quite, lift their game to the standard that was required. But overall, key forwards were relatively poor. I thought, Jack was well below his best, as was Ty Vickery.
So, pretty unusual to see that, boys. And how would the players have reacted to that, Brendan, to be singled out after round one?
Oh, look, that'd be disappointed, but I think that's an oldie bit of goodie from coaches, is to name players.
It's unusual, though, Brendan, isn't it? I mean, in the modern day, and the image that clubs want to purvey.
Yeah, it is. But I said it has happened before, and guys, I guess they're going to be watched closely now. So the coach is actually putting it out there for them to respond. So we know why they do it. But as you said, that it hasn't happened for a while, and it's an old school tactic.
I'll tell you what, you train well this week if you're those boys, let me tell you. Hey, what about the magician last night? Old Merlin, Gary Ablett, had a very good pre-season. He trained 4 times, I reckon, this pre-season. But he just comes out, he gets 41 touches, Wayne. You were up, you saw the game. 2 goals, outstanding.
Yeah, one thing I can't work out, he had 13 possessions in the first quarter. He's the best player in the competition. No Daniel Jackson. You've got to at least try and take his confidence out of the game early. You've got to have someone run with him everywhere and just not allow him to get into the game so easily. He's just a star. That's one thing I couldn't work out early on anyway, at least in the first quarter. Well, Matt Thomas went there and then Cochin went up against him at times and they just tried to take him on, but who can take on Gary Ablett? Not very many people, but at least have someone blanket him everywhere he goes early on, and that just takes his confidence away and he won't have those 40 possession games.
Guys, Mitch Clark has been dealing with injury problems for some time now. What we also have known for some time is he's been dealing with personal issues as well. And to the point where the accumulation of those personal issues got to the stage where Melbourne Footy Club last week decided with him to give him some time away from the club. Now, the unknowns about this are significant. It's unknown when he's going to return to the footy club, and there's actually even an if as to whether he will play football this season, possibly even beyond this point. These are the issues he's dealing with. We've spoken to Josh Marnie, the head of Melbourne Footy Club's football department this morning. Mitch Cleary's caught up with him. Let's take a listen to what Josh Marnie has said about the Mitch Clark situation before we get the panel's views.
Yeah, Mitch has some personal health issues that he's working through, and based on the best medical advice we've got at the time, he'll have a period of time away from the club. The club made that decision last week that we'll give him some time away. He's got the full support of the footy club. He's already spoken to some of the players, particularly the leaders, about it. and the period of time that it will be is unknown at the moment. Obviously, everyone at the footy club wants to support him and get him back to be healthy, and whether that's in a period of a few weeks or it could be longer than that, it'll be based on how Mitch is feeling.
All our thoughts are with Mitch Clark in what's been a difficult week for the Melbourne Footy Club. Are you saying, Damien, that he might not play again? Is there a fear about that?
It's a fear that Melbourne people have right now, Hutchie, that is a possibility. I mean, the fact they've given him time now to hopefully get the right treatment away from a football environment, and that is the key to this now. Football is so distant in Mitch Clark's life now that he has to get through before he actually makes a decision to get back to football. But there are Melbourne people, Hutchie, and it has been for some time. It's not just over the course of the past week. It's been for some time now very concerned about himself, as in the person, but obviously there's a football component to this, given he's a listed player for Melbourne for next year as well. And there are, to answer your question, significant doubts.
Moving on to the Magpies and their fallout from Friday night, a 70-point loss. Guys, what's your take on it, Bill?
Well, how bad were Collingwood or how good are Fremantle? They were unbelievable. Actually, Collingwood were quite good in the first quarter. Their pressure was okay and it was a 1 point deficit at quarter time. But after quarter time, it was all Fremantle. I just love the way they went through the corridor. They played more attacking footy, Lordo. They kicked 17 goals. They had something like 65 inside 50s. And they just kicked some very, very easy goals. That'll be the thing Nathan Buckley would have hated. Some very, very easy goals were kicked by Freo.
Collingwood can add Ben Reid, and I'm not sure about Jesse White, but they can add him as well. But the big thing is, I was involved in an interview and Gary Pert has said that he expects to win a premiership in the next 3 years while Nathan Buckley's the coach. So suddenly, we've heard coaches do that before, make big statements. I remember Peter Swab at Hawthorn-Croft got put under a lot of pressure for making a statement like that. So I can't
What do you take out of that comment? Do you see that as a possibility?
Oh no, nowhere near it. I think they're going to go down before they can come back up. I think he's playing kids. He's made statements on older players who are his best players. But I think there's so many clubs that are leapfrogging Collingwood at the moment.
It's only round one, and let's not get carried away.
Panic.
Collingwood can still very much make the finals. They can still figure. They're young kids up against Fremantle, big, strong bodies, very good players, premiership favourites.
Tough road, though, Croft, if you look at their fixture.
It is a very tough road, but it's a tough road for everyone.
Well, let's have a look
Nathan
then, Wayne.
Buckley
Again,
will work it out and get them going.
It's a tough road to hoe.
And we're talking premierships, Croft. So
Yeah.
can they win one in 3
Here
years?
we go. Sydney,
probably not.
which they normally play all right against Sydney. We've got the Cats, Tigers, North Melbourne, Essendon. You've got to get some early wins.
That round 2 game has got unbelievable ramifications now. One of those teams is going to be 0-2 in a big, big way. Things that caught your eye is back. I don't know how, Bill, for other seasons. I thought I was a bit lucky personally to be brought back.
No, it's very good. We've got one standby for you, Hutch. But have a look at this. Now, I've got to set this one up first. This is a press conference with Mick Malthouse yesterday, and the Carlton Footy Club handed around some food to the journos.
That's a good question, and it's one of those ones where you can probably get away with. That's out there. Okay? Just for everyone else.
Thanks, guys.
I think it was Robbo having a pie over on the side there, but he wasn't happy, Mickey Malthouse. And Lordo, don't you laugh here. This is the Crown Tennis Party, and Lordo loves to take a selfie. He's got Maria Sharapova here.
She asked me.
Oh, she did. But look at Raph here. Raph is going, who is this flog on with? Couldn't give a stuff about you, Lordo.
It's embarrassing, Lordo.
Oh, look at Lordo trying to move over, get closer to him.
We've had some great dance moves over our time. We've had Moonwalk, the Caterpillar.
Bus stop.
Twerking, bus stop, Gangnam style, but now we have the Brendan Goddard style.
Ooh.
Take us through this, Brendan. There he is on the exchange.
This is a back exercise. It's actually, it used to be called Angry Happy Cat.
Well,
you can
what's
see
this
for
bit
obvious
here?
reasons.
What's going on here? Hey?
Angry Happy. Hang on, Michelin Man, don't you laugh.
Michelin Man.
Can you, we know food's always on your mind.
Yes.
But can you please explain this?
All right.
She's a star. She was over there at sushi.
Sochi, Bill.
Oh, the same difference. There's one letter difference. Yeah, there is.
Right, one to finish with?
No, I've got 2 to finish with. You're not out of this, Will. But we'll start with this man over here on my right, Shane Crawford. We know Billy can butcher the English language. Well, let's take a look at Shane Crawford on the Supercoach show.
A lot of time down there in Antarctica just to really focus on your team.
Not very good on Google down in Antarctica, so it's fair to say my NAB Cup pre-season Deplorable, disgraceful, and I'm in a bit of trouble. So
Horrible, I think it was there from
What's wrong with that?
It's deplorable's the word, Cross.
Doesn't
But
matter.
anyway,
That's how I roll.
hey, we're coming to the big one, though.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, Lordo.
We know players can get ahead of themselves. Remember Croft's team in 08? They win a flag, they beefed up, they got ahead of themselves. Well, this is another man. He's hosting every show on Channel 9 at the moment.
Yes.
Hutchie.
Where's this going?
I wasn't sure if this was John Candy singing karaoke or the late John Candy or our great man,
Or it might
Craig
be
Hutchison.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. Let's take a look at Hutchie in a New York bar over the offside.
What is this?
Wait for the hat.
Private video.
Wait for the hat.
Hang on a minute.
Look at this with the hat here. Wait for it.
Oh, where have you got that from? That's against the odds. Lordo.
New York.
That is no. You can't go pulling those against the rundown.
What we should be doing on this show, we should have a sing-off between Hutchie and Lordo. I reckon. Would you do a bit of karaoke?
Because I can't do it.
No, wise guy.
You can beat
I want to
that.
have some
No, I
fun.
can't beat that.
I'm away with your
That's
in-laws
why I
for
don't
Christmas
sing.
and you ping that on me. I'm challenging you right here, right now,
It's a sing-off.
to a sing-off on the Sunday Footy Show.
I knock you back. Huh?
Don't be scared, don't be
I am
weak, don't be
scared.
intimidated.
I know
Come
my
on,
have a bit of fun at your
I
own
know my
expense.
limitations. Damo, would you do it?
No chance at all.
So
You'll man up at some stage
too
and
many
do it.
drinks for you.
I'd
Hutch.
challenge
can
you.
see over the off-season.
If you would
I'd challenge you, pretty boy, to a sing-off.
Well,
If you would
Anytime
like
you like.
Lordo to get
Right.
involved against Hutchie, make sure you tweet in.
I don't know where that's come from. There'll be ramifications
Oh,
for that
chicken
everywhere.
wings.
Right, let's get ready. Jeremy Cameron still to come. Stephen Kernahan live exclusive. Clinton Young explains how from the Magpies. And Guy McKenna, the Suns coach, is up next. This is the top rating Sunday Footy Show. And I'm Mr.
It's all in my
Brightside.
head and I'm feeling just fine.
Shane Crawford.
Well, that was Cross entry on Thursday night on the Thursday Night Footy Show, 8:30 of course. It's back this week too. Bernie Vince and Luke Ball among the guests. Be watching Thursday night, the top rating Footy Show at 8:30. Right, let's get back into yesterday's Shockwave Saturday as the Suns completed the double for the expansion teams with an 18-point win over the Tigers. Tom Lynch and Sam Day both kicked 2 goals each, while 41 touches for Little Master Presti and Riscatelli back in really good nick for the Suns. The Tigers got some woes. Their 2 superstars were their best 2, but Vickery kicked 2, but again, not much from too little from too many, unfortunately, on the day. And
Too few.
But it was a great effort in the end by the Suns, Lordo.
Yeah, it was. And Croft, you covered this one for us.
Yeah, they were fantastic, and we're very lucky to have the winning coach, who is sitting second on the ladder at the moment, the Gold Coast Suns. Guy McKenna, thanks for joining us, and well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Crawford. Yeah, the boys did it tough. 2 players down at half time, and with 2 quarters to go, I thought the boys hung tough for the rest of the match.
Yeah, what a start too. Fast and furious. You certainly had the guys revved up to take the most of the home ground advantage, and they certainly started the way you wanted them to.
Oh, they did. They certainly cracked in. We knew Richmond had a fairly good summer, and we had to start well early, use the ball quickly into our tall forwards, and yeah, I thought Lynch, Day and Dixon, while they were actually probably one of the rare moments that all 3 of them were playing together, we started to see the value of moving that ball quickly to those 3 tall targets.
A very good goal from Nick Vlosten, running off half-back all the way down, kicked truly, but it was a great coaching effort. I'm going to pump you up because Jack Martin goes down, big Charlie Dixon, who is looking likely to really rip open the game, and you had to really change things around and get the rotations right.
Yeah, we had to put a few mids forward, of course, because we just didn't have the numbers on the bench. And I really got to take my hat off to Matty Primus that sits through the midfield as a midfield coach, because, you know, obviously some of their stars, as you were saying, were getting some ball. We obviously went in with the plan to tag Delidio. He obviously had a lot of possession, but his effective disposal was well down. And I thought Michael Riscatelli, in the end, I thought did a fantastic job on him. But our defence was obviously short change through interchanges, of course. They had to defend 58 inside 50s. And, you know, with 2 first gamers down there, I thought the experience of certainly Greg Broughton, Matty Warnock and Stephen May, I would have thought he played his best game for the football club. He was superb down back, and then were able to clear the ball on the back of Trent McKenzie's legs. So, yeah, I thought the defence was really good. And Dean Solomon's put a power work into those boys, and Matty Primus had done a fair job through the midfield as well. So the combination of those two then spat forward, and we had 17 shots out of our 48, so that was pleasing.
Hey, Guy, it's hard for us here to predict how big a jump you guys could make this year because of the quality young list that you've actually got there, plus obviously Gary Ablett, who's the best player in the competition. But aside from just general improvement over another pre-season, where do you think the Suns have gone to a new level and what we expect to see over the next 12 months?
Well, just be able to cover the ground for longer. I think we're able to do that. We've made progressions over probably the last 2 years. Matty, we've been able to play a good solid half of football. Last year we sort of saw 3 quarters of football, 3.5 quarters of football. Now we have to learn to play 4 quarters of football. And even it was very much, we got out of the blocks early. Richmond came back to us in the second quarter. We kicked 1 goal 6 in that second quarter. We probably shot ourselves in the foot a bit. And then it was an arm wrestle, if you like, between the second and third quarter. And then we outscored them again in the last. So that was probably a mental moment more so than a physical moment. And I thought, the boys, what they would have learnt from that game would probably equate to some of our 20 or 30 games we've played in the past. And look, we asked last season for an 8-goal improvement. We got a 6-goal improvement. We're asking them for probably a 2-goal better off defensive unit and a 2-goal better off offensive unit. So, so far those numbers are showing that. Mind you, it's only at the end of round 1 for us at the moment. So we got a long season to go, but certainly the signs are encouraging.
Well done, Bluey. Very good win last night. One downside was the injury to Jack Martin. How bad is it this morning, mate?
No, I didn't catch up with Jack this morning. I was waiting around for you fellas, so I haven't been down there. But, mate, it's obviously an AC at this moment, so fingers crossed that he doesn't need surgery. But he'll have the scans early in the week. And
we're watching vision of him come off at the moment. So the shoulder didn't dislocate, Bluey? We've lost Guy McKenna there for a moment. We'll try and get him back on a line in just a moment. Having some technical issues there from the Gold Coast. That's good news if it's just an AC joint though, Lordo, because some suggest of a dislocated shoulder, which would be much longer.
Yeah, there was talks that he could play in a couple of weeks' time, but Jack Martin. But on this, Croft, do you think they're good enough to play finals this year? I had them just outside because I didn't think they were ready for it yet. But can you believe? Do you think they're a chance?
I have them just out, but I'm pretty scared about their midfield, the way they go through there. O'Meara is a wonderful young player. Prestia, also David Swallow. Guy, I wanted to ask you about David Swallow. His work rate last night was as good as I've seen.
We've lost Guy McKenna again there, Cross, so just having some technical issues. The votes is while we work through that from yesterday's game, and these were given by you, Croft.
They're the votes. Gary Ablett, 9. He was just everywhere. Trent Cotchin, I thought, worked really hard and got himself into the game. Swallow's work rate was just exceptional. He had 5 shots on goal, only kicked 1 goal, but he'll make them or convert them down the track. And Dion Prestia, just his work rate too, he's really developed into a top liner and a really good on-baller. So, no, very good win from Gold Coast. A very exciting year for them. And Tigers, from the Tigers' point of view, I thought their second and third quarters are okay. So they've got a bit of work to do, but they're not that far off.
And, Guy, you don't have to say anything, mate. We'll just give you the prizes. Lou's prize pack this is. Happy birthday to Lou. 91 yesterday, the great man. Good on you, Louie boy. No. But have a look at the major prize from Taylor Made. This is the slider driver, one of the best going around. #1 driver on tour, #1 in worldwide wins, played by more than 300 pros, including Australia's own Jason Day. There it is there, the slider. That is valued at about $500 or $600. Goes to all our guests. Aquila Shoes and Clothing, a $200 voucher there for their shoes. And look at the suit this year. Modelled beautifully by Brad, I think we're calling him. And that is lovely. Man, what a fuss. A $100 voucher there for some treatment. Go in and see the lovely Kate. She'll give you a haircut or a bit of a massage there, BJ. King Chrome Tools, the mobile utility bag there, that is a beauty, thank you, King Chrome. The Waterside Hotel, $100 voucher for food and frothies. And the Home Timber and Hardware, $100 gift voucher, thanks to Home Timber and Hardware. Go where the tradies go, all for you, Bluey. Hutch.
Thanks very much to Guy McKenna for joining us, and we apologise for those technical issues. Jeremy Cameron to join us. We'll hear from Heath Shaw too, and Stephen Kernahan with a Sunday agenda not far away on your Sunday Footy Show. Great scenes. It was a giant moment in the competition's history. There's no doubt about it. One of the big all-time arrivals as they signal their intent to be a real force in the competition in years to come, and maybe in the weeks to come, Lordo, with after a 32-point win over the crosstown rivals.
It was brilliant, Hutch. Brilliant to be there yesterday, and I'm excited to introduce our next guest. He's the number one younger player in the competition and could be the number one forward in the competition by the end of the season. It's Jeremy Cameron. Jeremy, how were the celebrations last night, and is it the biggest win in the club's history?
Hey guys, I think it is the biggest win that we've had so far, especially against our crosstown rivals, the Swans. It's been 3 years coming up against them, and it's good to finally get the win, and it's great to have the families up here as well to celebrate.
Jeremy, the aggro early on in the game, you were really aggressive, you targeted Lance Franklin early on. Did Leon Cameron put it to you guys to say, let's really go after him? We're not the little brother anymore, we've got vision here, we're watching Toby Green straight into Franklin. Did you try and go out there and say, let's make our presence felt?
I think Leon brought that across the group during the week, and he's kind of, since he's taken over the reins from Sheedy, he's kind of, I guess, built that into us over the pre-season. He wants us to play hard and tough, and that's really what we wanted to do. We want to start off strong and contest, and then when the rain started to pour, that's when he wanted us to go harder again.
We'll start looking at some of the game highlights, Jeremy, but I thought that you had a great battle early with Ted Richards. It was really good. He probably outpointed you a couple of times early. We see Lance Franklin just launch a big goal from 50 there early on, but I thought Heath Shaw, Josh Hunt and Shane Mumford, they gave you a huge impact right from the start.
Yeah, that's right. Them boys, since they got to the club, they've really stepped up, and I think they just show a lot of leadership out on the ground, at training, wherever. So they really help out us younger guys.
Unbelievable last quarter, Jezza. Well done to you. Great win. It's all tied up. We all think Sydney will run away with it, the more experienced side. But to kick 6 goals for, and I think they might only kick 4 or 5 points, that was a really telling moment.
Yeah, it was. I think that's just the third pre-season under the belt. Last year we dropped off towards the last quarter of game, so Leon's really wanted to step up in that area, and that's what we did yesterday.
Callan Ward yesterday was phenomenal. I thought that his leadership, the way he's led you, is the best player, one of the best and fairest last year. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves here in Melbourne, but he's now just about in the top 5 midfielders in the game.
Yeah, Cal's a star. We know what we're going to get from Cal. He puts his head over the ball week in, week out for us. He loves the wet conditions, so when it started to rain, he got pretty excited there at quarter time. So, he led from the front.
What about at quarter time? We all love this. We turned it on, and the lightning and the thunder, and you had 23 minutes off. In our day, we used to just play through this, Jezza, but you all had to go off the ground, mate.
Yeah, well, back in Dartmoor, they would have let us play through as well. So I was a bit confused there at quarter time. But we had to get off the ground because of the lightning. But the crowd enjoyed the show.
We saw the combination you had yesterday with Patton and Giles, and Boyd kicked 4 in the reserves and is looming large. Personally, are you pleased now that you didn't get Buddy?
Yes and no. Buddy's a star player, we all know that. But to have them younger guys there as well, they're such big men, and to get them out on the field and playing well has been phenomenal. I think that Patton, he's worked harder than anybody over the pre-season to get back, and we can see what he can do.
Jez, we saw you play further up the ground yesterday, so Patton was closer to goal. Is that what we'll see for most of the season?
Yes and no. Leon likes us to mix it up. Going into the games, I started up the ground a little bit and tried to get Teddy out of the goal square because he loves sitting back and reading the play and taking strong marks. So that was just one of the focuses we had going into the game.
Jeremy, well done on the win. Leon Cameron, your coach, how does he differ from Kevin Sheedy? What has he brought with him?
I think they're similar in a lot of ways. Leon just wants us to work hard. He knows he's kind of built it into us since he's got to the club that we're all talented, but it means nothing unless you work hard. So that's what Leon brings to the club.
And the votes for yesterday, Jezza, sorry I couldn't fit you in, mate. I thought that Teddy had you early and you hit back hard, but I thought your skipper, Callan Ward, was by far BOG. Adam Treloar's just a class act. I thought Heath Shaw's rebound just set you up early, and I thought Mumford's dominance in the clearance got him in the votes as well, Hutch.
Well done, and this is for you, Jezza. Have a look at this, the major prize, a tailor-made driver, the slider they're calling it, #1 driver on the tour, Jason Day is it. When you walk into the Dartmoor Golf Club with this, my friend, you'll be hitting them straight to the sand scrapes there at Dartmoor. Thank you to Taylor, mate.
Sand scrapes?
That's what they got at Dartmoor. Don't worry about that. Look at that for more distance. Loft up. It's the slider there. That is good. We should get one of those by now, all the panel here. Also, $250 voucher for the shoes and clothing at Aquila. Look at that there. Beautiful Aquila gear. Got the clothing now. Man, what a fuss. $100 voucher there for a facial. You can get there, Jezza, at Man What a Fuss. The King Chrome tools. They've got the utility bag for you today, mate. Throw everything in there and away you go. The Waterside Hotel, $100 voucher for food and drinks. And the Home Timber and Hardware, $100 gift card. Thanks to Home Timber and Hardware. Go where the tradies go. All for you, Jezza.
Thanks a lot, guys. Looking forward to it.
Jeremy Cameron, a superstar of the competition, joining us there from GWS. And you misread this, Croft, so your head has to be shaved on the Footy Show?
Well, at the moment, I think Bill's still got to have a go and Gary's still got to pick one for next week. But at the moment, I am in a lot of trouble. It's not just shave your head, it's actually going bald. And I was never thinking that Sydney were going to lose to GWS.
You're a man of your word, though. You'll take it.
You've got to do it. Pretty boy.
If I lose, which I've lost so far, you've got to do it.
Imagine you with bald head and those big teeth. That's going to look funny.
Right, still on GWS, and Heath Shaw was magnificent. He's been one of the stories of the summer. Damien Barrett recently sat down with Heath Shaw and in this exclusive interview asked him whether his qualifying final from Collingwood contributed to his demise at Magpie Land.
Heath, what happened at Collingwood?
Well, we sat down after the season with Bucks and Rocket and had our usual meetings, and it was thrown up about getting traded. I hadn't really thought about that because I was contracted for 2 years, and then eventually the club told me that they were going to look to trade me, and I was pretty shocked and upset at the time. Never thought I'd find myself in that situation.
Were you hurt?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. It's as soon as I was told, I think Bucks was talking for about 2 or 3 minutes after that, and I wasn't listening and didn't take in anything after those sort of words were said.
The elimination final, it was noted during the game, after the game, how demonstrative you were, and that's something that you've always been as a player. Was that given as a reason?
Oh, no, it wasn't given as a reason. You'd hope you don't get traded on one game. Obviously, there was a fair bit of frustration built up for me, being in a situation that we didn't think we'd be in, obviously not winning that game, and I've had really high expectations, as I do with every time I go out on the field, and things weren't going our way, and the season didn't really go our way either, and that was frustrating for me, and personally wasn't playing as good as I would have liked to, so it was a bit of a build-up into that game, but I don't think that decision was based on one game.
Do you hold it against Nathan for making that decision on you?
At the time I did, that's for sure. There's no doubting that. I definitely didn't send him a Christmas card. Leon Cameron said to me when they recruited me, he said, I don't want you to change the way you are. He goes, we got you for a reason. We got you because we like the way you go about things. You call a spade on the field, and you sort of try your guts out there, and we know all you want to do is succeed and win. That's what we want you to bring to this team. I love the club, Collingwood, and I spent 9 great years there and had some great successes and got some really good friends still at that club, and we'll never forget that.
You not being at Collingwood anymore has broken that famous sequence of a Shaw being so synonymous with Collingwood. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's 40 years or something that a Shaw hasn't been at Collingwood this year, so it's going to be a different place there without me, I think. Hopefully I've left a good mark on a few people there.
Fascinating interview, that Heath Shaw with Damien Barrett. Did they get it right, the Magpies, moving on Shaw and Thomas Lordo?
Well, they didn't in terms of it's hurting them on field, BJ, in my opinion. So the way their backline operated on Friday night, I think they desperately missed his run-off half-back, but we don't see what goes on behind the scenes. But how do you view it?
Yeah, that's right. I think Heath's leadership on the ground really stands out, and we know at times, like myself, we can go a bit over the top, but I think that's one area they will miss Heath's influence. He's down back, and he was a great leader on the field, and he's a great player as well and competitor. So
This is the Sunday Footy Show for home, timber and hardware. Go where the tradies go. And don't forget to, the Big One catalogue is back, bigger and better than ever. It's packed with big products, brands and deals to help you get stuck into the big projects. The Big One catalogue until Sunday the 30th of March. Go to your local home timber and hardware store. They're all over the country, and pick yourself up a big bargain for the Big One catalogue. A break, Stephen Kernahan, Clinton Young among those still to join us on the Sunday Footy Show.
You're a clown. You know, I write the break the Ahmed Saad story, break the player revolt story. You send me text saying well done, but on air you have a crack at me. You're a fraud sometimes, Craig.
No, hang on a minute.
Oh.
I'm not going to cop that.
You are so
You
false.
completely... Well done on breaking the stories. Do your Walkley lap of honour. But the whole fact of the matter is you
Craig,
completely misread the state of the St Kilda Football
I
Club.
have known?
They were sick on field and they were sick off field.
And
you wrote a rosy piece. Well, it was pretty light-hearted stuff, wasn't it?
I thought she got you.
No,
you're out of line. Bringing up a story she wrote 3 years ago.
I think I proved my point.
What's
Well, no, you start taking sides.
We'll talk Collingwood tomorrow night as well.
I'll deal with you tomorrow night as well. Don't worry about that. This is the Sunday Footy Show. It's only round one. How are we going to get through the season? What a win on Friday night for Fremantle by 70 points. Magnificent performance. Reaffirmed their flag favourite status. Ballantyne kicked 3 goals and the midfield dominated. Bill Brownless. It was an unbelievable effort.
After quarter time, it certainly was, Hutch. 70-point win. How good Freo, how bad Collingwood? That was a question after the game. Got a Collingwood player here. He's one of the better Collingwood players on Friday night too. Clinton Cliffy Young. Welcome, mate. Not a great start to the year.
Absolutely not. No, disappointing. We thought we were going to the game full of confidence, had a pretty good NAB Cup series, so disappointing start.
It was, mate, but the first quarter was okay because Collingwood's pressure was very, very good. We'll have a look at some highlights here. This is Witts here and he's tackling. So your tackling and your forward pressure was certainly up in that first quarter.
Yeah, our pressure was there. We didn't quite convert on the scoreboard, which is disappointing. So going into the quarter time break, we were in the game and things were going okay at that time.
No doubt about that.
What went wrong?
You just stopped.
What happened?
Yeah, good question. I think we'll obviously review the tape, but we sort of dropped away. We just couldn't stop them and they sort of attacked us through the corridor. We couldn't stop them, and on the flip side, when we were attacking, we weren't good enough either. So in all aspects of the game, they were too good.
Look at that, three at one there, and then it did stop after quarter time. Johnson wasn't sure. You seemed to be going at him. He was fantastic after quarter time. Big Sandlin certainly got on top in the middle, and that 5-second quarter was unbelievable. I think he had 11 touches and he just won it out of the middle. And then the pace, I think, of Hill and Pearce really got to you, Cliffy.
Yeah, undoubtedly they're a good team. So obviously we'll walk away from the game and a lot of things to work on.
You're in the leadership group. Gary Pert said on Friday night that the expectation was you could win a flag within 3 years. Do you think you're good enough to do that?
Oh, I think so. I think we're on the right path. We're certainly playing some young players, but obviously Friday night wasn't an ideal way to start the year, but we'll move on.
Given who you've lost over the summer, do you think there might be a need to go forward?
Good question. I think, well, we're playing some younger players at the moment, but it's only round one. We've still got a long season ahead of us, and hopefully we can turn it around next week.
We saw a change to Fremantle. We were all wondering over summer there had to be more attacking, and they certainly were. They kicked 17 goals, 65 inside 50s, which was unbelievable. And there was a lot of it through the centre, Lordo, and I know you've had a good look at them. We'll talk to that very shortly, but a lot of goals were kicked through the centre, and I suppose the worrying part, Youngie, was that there was some real easy goals kicked, coast-to-coast goals.
Yeah, we want to pride ourselves on being a good defensive team, and we didn't show that. So, as I said, we're going to look at the tape and work on it.
No doubt about that. And then this man here, he was outstanding. He kicked a goal, gave one away. I loved Pavlich. I know he only kicked one goal. He sprayed a few, but gave them a target. And Johnson was just doing what he wanted down back there. And what I did like was the second-tier players, you know, De Boer, Sutcliffe, Duffield, Spur, and these guys were sensational. So
who was it?
De Boer. Have a look at this. This is what we're talking about. This is the new Fremantle. Straight down the middle, one kick. Collingwood players are caught out of position, of course, and Ballantyne, who kicked 3 goals, bounced back from that grand final, was very, very good too. So they were outstanding, and they're going to belt a lot of clubs this year, I reckon, Lordo. They're going to belt a lot more clubs this year.
Hey, Clinton, how off-putting is it going up against someone like Aaron Sandilands in that midfield?
Yeah, he's obviously a very hard player to stop. We try to we had 2 young ruckmen up against him, but he's too hard to stop, I think.
Bill just touched on there, like Michael Johnson did what he wants across half-back, and I think he was all-Australian because of that reason. I think he's the most attacking half-back flanker in the competition, and yet Collingwood just let him roam free. Let's take a look at some of the edits there from Friday night. I just couldn't believe how they allowed him just to drop off. He's like a quarterback here. You see him back behind the play. You see him helping out Travis Cloak. And I want to watch it. One of Dane Swan's entries, how poor this is and why they just played into Michael Johnson's hands. Watch this kick inside 50. Michael Johnson does that all day long, and yet Swanee couldn't hit up Tyson Goldsack. You've got to do that straight away early in the first quarter, otherwise he'll hurt you. Just want to touch on the Fremantle ball movement and also the poor Collingwood pressure. They just got overworked and spooked in the end, Collingwood. They stopped working, and watch Fremantle's ball movement once again. They're getting the spread. They can go through the corridor or they can go wide, but you know, they stretched him. Michael Johnson yet again out on his own. Watch how poor this is, though, from Collingwood by the end. They just broke them. You think he's going to have a shot around the back, and I want to focus on Collingwood. By the end, all they cared about was their direct opponent. Watch this, how easy this become. Everyone here from Collingwood just focused on their own man. Crowley kicks the goal on Scott Pendlebury and it was game over.
Yes, indeed. But one positive for the ladies out there, and some blokes, of course, was this at quarter time. Have a look at this. Travis Cloak, no shorts, no jumper, just got the undies on there.
Budgie smugglers.
Budgie, oh, thank you, BJ. But have a look at that. That is a magnificent specimen there, boys.
You got a pair of those, Bill?
They're a bit bigger than that.
No, yours are called bog catchers.
I see where you're going, son.
Clinton, wonderful effort for you in 2008. You won the grand final. You're a big part of the season. How did you feel last year having to watch your ex-teammates win it? Was it a tough day?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough day. I actually went there. Yeah, I was happy they won. They were the best team all year, so they thoroughly deserved it.
Well, it would have been a weird experience, I would think, but your place in 2008 will never be forgotten. Who knows, in your time at Collingwood, it could happen again. Your votes, Bill?
Yes, indeed. Here are the votes here, and apologies to Mzungu. But Johnson, I loved his work. Hill and Pearce with their pace. Nat Fyfe only played about 2 3/4 quarters. I reckon you get the 3 votes from the umpires. He was outstanding while he was on. He is a star, we all know that. So, unfortunately, couldn't get you in there, Youngie, but you were one of the better Collingwood players, don't you reckon?
Oh, I got a few kicks, Bill. Plenty to work on.
Well, Johnson is the equal leader, of course, in the Isuzu D-Max Lou Richards medal. At the end of the year, the winner will take home a brand new 3-litre turbo diesel Isuzu D-Max. Have a look at this for a vehicle built with the spirit of truck. You can depend on the D-Max to handle everything you throw at it. Renowned for excellent fuel economy, advanced safety features, and of course the off-road performance. The Isuzu D-Max is backed by a 5-star rock-solid 5-year warranty. IsuzuUte.com.au. Clinton, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
We're going to win a car.
A car to the winner of the Lou Richards medal this
How
year.
good is that?
It's going to be unbelievable.
Did you not see that, Bill?
It wasn't in the meeting. I didn't realise we're giving away a bloody car. That is unbelievable.
So
well done.
be careful with your votes, boys, because it means something big in 2014. We thank Clinton for joining us. Stephen Kernahan is along for the ride next. The Carlton president speaks to us exclusively as part of our Sunday Yarn. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It's time for a Sunday Yarn. It's been a 30-year uninterrupted stint for Stephen Kernahan at the Carlton Footy Club. At the end of this year, he'll step off the board as president, ending an unbelievable career both as player, coach, and, of course, director. And he joins us for a Sunday Yarn. Sticks, welcome. Good to finally have you here.
Thanks, Hutchie. Yeah, good to get it. I should have been here before, but thanks for having me.
It's a challenging year ahead for you, and a big year for Carlton. A lot of unknown. You brought Mick Malthouse in to win a premiership, but many pundits, among them Matthew Lloyd today in The Age, suggest you're further away than ever before. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, look, I haven't read Lloyd's article. Someone just mentioned outside there, and that's fine. He's an Essendon man, so that's fine. I don't think there's any love lost between Carlton and Essendon.
But it's not an isolated view, though, is it?
No, that's true. Look, we've changed our list by, as Mick said, 25% this year. We've made a lot of changes to it. Quite clearly, Hutchie, we've knocked on the door the last 5 years of top 4 and hung around that 5 to 8 slot and haven't been able to get better. And that's our challenge at the moment, to try and bridge that gap between the top sides.
But you did bring Mick in to try and win a flag inside those 3 years, and that's why Brett Ratton was moved on. Do you think that you've all overestimated your own list and that it's actually possible?
No, look, everyone says you bring a bloke in with a premiership, Hutchie. I mean, that's what everyone's aiming to do. Let's make no about that. But it's easy for board members and people outside to say, you know, we've brought him in to win a flag. We're all trying to win one. But first of all, you've got to make the right steps, get into the top 4 where you get in the best position. Quite clearly, we haven't done that. I don't think our list is as bad as you're saying, but proof will be in the pudding after the end of the season.
Are you a contender?
Yeah, look, I am. Look, we won a final at the MCG last year, albeit we got in for unusual circumstance with Essendon, but the facts are we played in front of 95,000, played well that day, got the job done. But quite clearly we didn't get it done the week after, and that's our challenge.
So given that, why do you think there's this sort of air of doomsday about your list? The statistics suggest that you haven't got a great crew of youngsters coming through. There's an older bunch who are coming towards the end, Judd among them. What do you think that... Like, how do you see the list? Do you think it's in a premiership window? Mick Moldhouse called it at 11 o'clock yesterday. Where do you see it?
Well, I see our list where realistically it is. I mean, we finished 6th last year, Hutchie. Can we get better? I believe we can. So, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, we need to make that next step. Are we good enough? That is the query on our list. And our blokes, last year we got improvement from blokes like Murphy, Gibbs and Cruiser. Everyone says the young blokes coming through. We've got Menzel's going to be a very good player for us. Cripps isn't playing tonight, but you'll see him very shortly. He's going to be a very good player. We've got some kids coming through.
So last one on the team, is the top 4 realistic then?
Well, we'll be aiming for that, Hutchie, but as I've said before, this side has quite clearly not been good enough to get there yet. So we've got to do something this year.
It'll be an interesting one for you with the coach, Mick Moldhouse, because he's 1 year into a 3-year, and I guess a lot will be told this year. He seemed recently to be positioning for a contract extension, or at least wanting to be beyond a 3-year coach at Carlton. Do you see him as the long-term coach of Carlton, and will you consider an extension?
Well, personally, look, he's got 2 years to go. This is the second of his 3rd year, and I'm really pleased. The last thing I worry about when I go home at night from the footy club is, are we being coached well? I think Mick's a seriously good coach. I've watched him from afar for a long time. Now I've seen it firsthand, so I'm really comfortable where we're at. But I don't think there's any time to go on it. But at the end of next year, I'm sure the club will be, whoever's in charge will be sitting down with Mick and going through. I'd like him to stay on. I want to put a stamp on this side and build it, because that's what he's been good at.
So you won't extend him before your term ends at the end of this year?
We'll have to wait and see.
Or it will be the end of next year, you said before. So you will let it run its course before you see where
Look, I reckon the coach needs to have some, about... Look, at the end of this year, he's 2 years into a 3-year deal, so I'm sure the club will sit down and see where we're all at the end of this year.
Bryce Gibbs, how important is he to you? He's a free agent. South Australian teams are coming at him. I'm sure you can empathise with him, as you had plenty of offers during your time to go home to South Australia and then ultimately stayed. Are you confident that he'll stay, and what role are you going to play personally in that?
Well, I think we're in the best position to keep him. He's bought a property here recently. He's pretty settled here. He's been in quite a while now. And every year this comes up, gives his contract that he's going to get back to Adelaide at some stage. So, as I said, I think we're in the best position to keep him, but we've got a bit of work to do with him, but we're confident we'll keep him.
You're aware of the approaches that he's had from the 2 South Australian teams?
I'm sure they've been knocking on his door for a number of years, Hutchie.
Will the offer be hard to match, do you think? It's going to be, from all reports, $600,000-$700,000 a year, and at some point you have to, like Collingwood did with Daisy, you have to weigh up whether it's worth that for you guys.
Look, he's a really required player at this football club, and Adelaide want to have a lot of money to get him away from us.
Dale Thomas, what sort of impact has he had so far?
Well, I think he's been fantastic, Daisy. I mean, I've watched him from afar. He's a seriously good finals player, this bloke. As everyone knows, 2-10 premiership player. Obviously hasn't played much footy the last 2 years, but he's the leadership we need down there, the experience we need. And I've been wrapped with what he's done. He's a little bit underdone after not playing a lot of footy, but I reckon the first 6-7 weeks when he gets going will be really important for us.
Sunday night football for the first time tonight. You're one of the guinea pigs in trialling it. How does it sit personally with you playing a Sunday night opener at Etihad?
Well, it's a bit of the graveyard shift, Hutchie. I mean, obviously the AFL and the networks are working on the Sunday night programs at the moment. We're at 7:40 tonight, which is a late one, and after the Grand Prix as well. So we've got a few of these during the year. We play Collingwood and Essendon at 7:10 on a Sunday night. So it'll be interesting to see how the gate goes. I'm a bit worried about how many people will get there tonight, but let's hope all the Blues people get along, because there's a cracking game between 5th and 6th of last year.
What's your personal view on whether it's valid or not Sunday night footy?
Well, I like getting home to Rosemary on Sunday night, and I'm sure the families with the kids do too, Hutchie, but you get home by 10:30, 11. It's different, it's interesting.
Get along and support tonight at carltonfc.com.au or 1300 Carlton to be a member of the Carlton Footy Club. It's going to be a fascinating game between Carlton and Port Adelaide tonight. Looking forward to seeing how it goes. Our Buried Hatchet a bit later on in the program is the Battle of Britain Sticks, where we finally settle some scores. What's your memories of that famous day?
I remember my head hits a bin. There it is right there again. It's always on. And I've never seen a game like that. I've been involved in a few, but it just shows you when when you're in London and you think the pressure's off, there's no tribunals around, what can happen? And that was as brutal a game as I've ever been involved in.
Before we let you go, so the Etihad Stadium is where the Blues have played a lot of their games in recent times. I think your deal's up at the end of this season.
Correct.
What's your view on where Carlton should play its games into the future? Do you want to stay as an Etihad tenant, or do you think the time is right to move to the MCG?
Look, we've checked with our members, they'd like to get back to the G. We're 6 at Etihad, 5 at the G at the moment, and we may tinker with that. We're speaking to Etihad at the moment, who've been terrific as well in our negotiations, but also we've got the option of the G, so we'll be talking with both parties, and by June, July, we want to have something in place. So, you know, our members have quite clearly indicated they want to get back to the G for more games.
Would you like to see the MCG return as the main home ground of Carlton?
I like the MCG, Hutchie, but I'm happy at Etihad too.
Well, it's been an unbelievable career you've had at Carlton. It's going to be strange, I'm sure, for you next year as you leave. As you finish up, how would you rate your time as president?
Oh, Hutchie, look, we've settled the place. I mean, in the early 2000s, we were in massive trouble, the footy club financially and off-field, and had some salary cap infringement. So I'm happy that the finance are settled at the moment. Our debt's down to a manageable level. We know where we're going in the future. But again, I said in the paper today, I think it's a wins-loss business and we want to get better than we have been.
Well, it's a massive year for the Blues. Thanks for coming in finally for a Sunday Yarn.
Thanks, Hutch.
Good to catch up for a chin wag, and good luck tonight as you launch the season against Port Adelaide. And for the Carlton supporters there, get along and support your team tonight at Etihad against Port Adelaide and become a member of the Carlton Footy Club. Bury the hatchet. We'll talk more about that famous Battle of Britain next, right here on the Sunday Footy Show.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It's time for Bury the Hatchet. The year was 1987. The two sides were Carlton and North Melbourne. The venue was London. And what happened next will go down in football folklore for all the wrong reasons. And two guys that were right in the middle of it, Donald McDonald and David Rees-Jones. Welcome to the Sunday Footy Show.
Great to be here.
Now, you took a great mark early, and would I be right in saying that you threw the first punch on the way down when he took the mark and it all started?
Yeah, like it wasn't premeditated that I'd belt Rees. It was just premeditated in my head because Kangaroo gave this great speech and, you know, I was pretty fired up. Anyway, Rees took the mark and coming down, I just give him a little bit of a love tap and being the dill I am, I just stood on the mark and put my hands up, you know, as if, you know, I'll be right, you know, and next minute Rees just jumped up and chinned me and then that was it. She was on for young and old.
Now, in that little scuffle, did any of them actually land, or there was a few haymakers thrown by you?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, no, I think a couple may have, but yeah, I was keen to. I had a headache before I started. You can imagine I only had 3 hours sleep and I'd been on the grog all night, so I didn't really need a whack in the head at that stage. We knew very early on in the match that they were on because Stephen McCann, who wasn't the bravest bloke in the world, tried to put Stephen Kernahan's head in a rubbish bin at one stage on the fence there. So I think once we saw that, we knew, geez, these blokes are fair income today.
Now, a few moments after that, on the wing, you were shaping up with Ian Aitken and an incident that changed the game forever. Alistair Clarkson, then 19 years of age, hit Ian Aitken. He went down with a broken jaw. What are your recollections of that incident?
Ian Aitken was my opponent, so he went to run off and I thought, nah, I'm not chasing him because I was knackered from the fight. So I tackled him to the ground and he just jumped up and started throwing punches. So I could see his punches come, so I just ducked out of the way and I thought, all right, I'll throw one. And as I was about to throw one, Al just come from nowhere. And if you know Al, he sticks by his teammates pretty well. And yeah, he just got Ian flush and that created a little bit more drama.
At quarter time, Robert Walls, our coach, actually said to us that I don't want Alistair Clarkson to walk off the ground. So it was the first time in my career I'd actually been given instructions to get out and whack someone. But unfortunately, I think although celebrating, I couldn't catch him.
What did John Kennedy say at half-time about what had happened? Did he say you needed to protect Alistair in the second half?
Yeah, Kanga was pretty big on that, you know, like having his bigger blokes, making sure they looked after little blokes. There was so much stuff going off the ball that you never saw on the TV. And I remember at one stage saying to me, mate, you know, come up around here. I mean, at least stand up in front of me, you know, so I can see, because all you could hear was the crowd yelling. I'd look around and there'd be a pack of Carlton blokes trying to chase him. So I think post-game, it was probably one of the happiest I've ever seen, Kanga, because Wolsey was screaming out to John Kennedy to say, you know, you're a bunch of animals and this, that and the other, and I think it probably made Kanga prouder of us.
After the game, there was presentations. You were still bloodied and bruised, and there probably would have been a lot of animosity. What was it like directly after the game?
I was with Jimmy Buckley and we were going into the place we were staying at one stage, and next minute we rang the lift and the lift come up and there's Alistair Clarkson standing there, and he's got Jimmy Buckley and myself looking in the lift, and Ian Fairley, I think, was there, and And we jumped in the lift, and I think it was, he said, look, feel his head. And we felt the top of his head, and he had lumps everywhere all over. It was like a pineapple.
Was it true that your mother-in-law said that you were an animal?
She did, because they were Mad Carlton, and it was live on TV, and she rang up my wife and said, and we weren't married at that stage, and she said, I don't approve of the boy that you're about to marry.
Imagine it to me.
Well, guys, Donald, David, it's been a great insight into the Battle of Britain all the way back in 1987. Thanks for joining us on the Sunday Footy Show. It's been fantastic.
No worries, Brad.
Thank you.
Bury the Hatchet is back in a big way in season 2014. If you want to suggest one too, by the way, @SunFootyShow is the Twitter handle. #Bury the Hatchet. And whoever you'd like to see get back together to settle some old wounds, we'll love to try and make it happen here on the Sunday Footy Show. The #Bury the Hatchet. Nathan Brown back on the program next week, Bill.
Yeah, and well done to Brownie there. Maybe you and Caro we might get on next week. But good story, Jimmy Buckley. I was at a night with him one night, and he was telling a story that he was an ambassador for Foster's then. John Elliott sent him over a week beforehand, so he had a fair crack at it. And he had to paint Foster's on each wing of the oval. So he just went down to a paint shop, Dulux, bought the paint, painted Foster's on the wing. It was there for 10 weeks after the game because no one could wash it off. So Foster's was on the oval. They're playing cricket games there. They're playing soccer or whatever else, say, for 10 weeks. And Foster's was still on the ground. So well done, Jimmy Buckley.
It's a great story. #Battle of Britain or Twitter @SunFootyShow or @Craig Hutchie to join the conversation. The Rolling All-Australian, by the way, will also be back in season 2014 in a big way. Plenty of news around. Time for the Sunday agenda with Damien Barrett.
Thank you, Hutchie. And we will bang through a couple of news items now. We'll do it through the eyes of AFL Chief Executive Andrew Demetrio, who is departing. I did catch up with him recently, and it starts here with a question about is he worried about the St Kilda's plight?
Of course we're worried. I mean, we seem to find one club every year that we worry about, but we're working with St Kilda to help them where we can.
Has there been a softening on your stance on Good Friday football?
I think the short answer is yes, there has been. It's not on, of course, 2014, but if we were to play football on Good Friday, then it would be taken with the best interests of our supporters, first and foremost. If we did it, it would be played in the evening. We wouldn't play it in the afternoon. But it would only be if it had the support of the broadcaster. And but, you know, that's a decision that the Commission will have to take at some point in time. It's not my decision, contrary to what people think.
State of Origin and representative footy, is that what you're referring to before?
I think it's very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
So if there is representative footy, it'd be the international rules potentially.
Yeah, it's just, look, we've tried it, Damien, we've tried to get it up, and I just don't think there's enough will there to get it up.
That's Andrew Demetrio recently there. Clearly a softening on the prospects of AFL being played on Good Friday there. We might get some opinion on that. But Brendan, might go to you first there. Representative football, State of Origin football, the players constantly bang on about the want to do it, yet nothing ever gets done. Andrew Demetrio there has almost put a line through it. Your take?
Yeah, I think the majority of players are in favour of it. Obviously, from a player's perspective, it's more about where it fits in the calendar and then what meaning it has, because I think as players, we don't want to go out there and just put on somewhat of a show, a bit like NBA All-Star Weekend and all that kind of thing. So, and personally, I grew up watching State of Origin footy, so I was a big fan. Watched a few of you guys play, so I'd love for it to get back to where it was, but whether it can get there is another thing.
Watch the Allies, did you? Just on St Kilda, the first question there. Do you worry about St Kilda and how they're struggling now?
Yeah, of course I worry about it. Yeah, it was a big part of my life, Bill. Yeah. Spent 10 years there. Obviously, a few guys have moved on then, but my close mates are still there and playing footy. And as I touched on last year, I don't like seeing the guys lose and struggle as a footy club, because we'd come from somewhat being successful. So, yeah, I care about the club and I care about my mates that are still currently there.
Since you've left, they've just gone downhill. Stats don't lie, do they?
Don't lie, Bill.
Hutchie, we discussed before the Mitch Clark situation, being given leave from Melbourne Footy Club to go and deal with personal issues. But I didn't really get your opinion on this matter before. And I suppose where I want to come at it right here is the pressures of a footballer. How different are they today to even when you started, which in the scheme of things is a relatively small time ago?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that, Damo, that it's obvious that from the time I walked in the door in 2003 into the AFL system, the pressure and expectation on footballers is a lot more severe than what it was back then. And football is not for everyone. I'm not saying this about Mitch Clark, but it's footy's hard. I always say footy's hard without all that other stuff going on in your personal life and all that kind of thing. So sometimes people forget, and the public forget, that we're all still humans, and we've got personal lives and stuff we've got to deal with off the footy, but off the field. But yeah, it's a difficult sport, footy, and I've always said that footy's hard without everything else that was going on. And yeah, best wishes to Mitch because it is quite tough.
Yeah, good bit battle to get through. Bill, Kirsten, the young ruckman from Geelong, it's just been announced this morning that he is now going to be out for some time this year as well. So adds
The young
to the
forward. Shane Kirsten?
Yeah. Chris Scott has today announced that he will be out for a fair while. So another injury blow to the Cats. They're mounting up.
Well, they are. Luckily, they take on Adelaide, who also got a lot of injuries. But certainly Kirsten. Motlop's very important. He's weeks away. And Alan Christensen's the other one, of course. So that is some bad news there. But they take on Adelaide, who've got plenty of injuries themselves.
Anything to do with the new lights down there, Bill?
Mate, those lights. You wait till Thursday night when the city just lights up there. It is magnum. Which camera? There's 16 of there. There went. The lights will just set the town on fire. There's red lights going on everywhere here. Shane takes us back.
Damien, thanks for that.
Cheers, Hutchie.
Damien Barrett joining us with the Sunday Agenda. Just before we move on, I want to ask you about the Bombers. Mark Thompson, has he won you over in the off-season? Is he different to what you thought he would be as a senior coach?
Different. I always knew that he was from left field. I think we all know that. But it was hard for me to make a judgment based on last year because of what was going on and Bomber and a few other guys are obviously distracted. But I think the hard decision was for Bomber to commit to coaching 100%, and there is no question that he's done that. And I've been super impressed, and I'm a Bomber fan.
Won you over? Yep.
He won me over, most definitely.
And what about James's role? Do you stay in touch with him?
I personally speak to James from time to time, yeah. But his role in the footy club is next to none, I would have thought.
Hutch, you guys asked on the footy show Dyson Heppel on Thursday night about the reporting in the paper. I know it's been done to death a fair bit, but have you seen some of their personality change or go into their shells or been badly hurt by
No, we discussed it as a group and leadership group just to see how the individuals were going that were mentioned in the paper. And that's what, again, going on. You don't know the effects that it has, not only with the guys that were mentioned in the paper, but then their families and their friends have got to deal with it. So there's a bigger effect rather than just on the players and the footy club. So I think that's a real disappointing thing coming out of that. But those guys, look, they've dealt with obviously severe controversies in the past and in the last year. So I think that just adds to it. But I guess we've found a way and a method with resolving issues like that.
And a real football tragedy, one of the saddest stories in a long time during the week with the sad passing of Dean Bailey's memorial service in Adelaide yesterday, Lordo.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be involved with Dean. Dean was an assistant coach, a development coach at Essendon through our great era, 99, 2000, 2001, when we finished on top of the ladder 3 years in a row. And my experience with Dean as a young player, he'd hit you between the eyeballs, but he was also one of the warmest guys I've ever met in football.
Thoughts are with the Bailey family and the Adelaide Footy Club. A break and more to come on the Sunday Footy Show. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Of course, thanks to Home Timber and Hardware, go where the tradies go. Wonderful partner of the program is sportsbet.com.au, and Matty Campbell joins us for all the money back specials. Matty, welcome. Fascinating market tonight, isn't it? With Port Adelaide, surprisingly, the outsiders in this game.
Yeah, given what's happened already this weekend, Carlton's recent record against Port is probably the reason why they're at $1.62. But Port Adelaide now great value at $2.35, and probably very tempting for punters to take that from what we've seen so far this weekend. Now, Collingwood fans wouldn't have been happy beaten by 70 points on Friday night, but those that backed them got their money back, because for every game in round one, if you back a side and it's leading at quarter time, half time or three-quarter time, but loses the game, we'll refund your head-to-head bet. And that happened with both Collingwood and Sydney. Now, that's a maximum of $100, and that is your first bet on the game. Go to sportsbet.com.au for all the details, but it could happen again quite easily. And the summer season, well, everybody's positive over summer. Everyone thinks their team's going to go good, so I had a look at some bets that sort of raised my eyebrows a little bit. And one punter having $200 on St Kilda to win the minor premiership at the lazy odds of 250 to 1. One punter obviously not keen on Hawthorn to miss the top 8. Can't see that happening. And then Brian Lake, who's going to come back from suspension to add a Brownlow medal to his Norm Smith medal at the fantastic odds of $100,000 for the win. So everybody being positive, the glass is definitely half full this time of year.
Did the punters find the Giants yesterday? They obviously soared in the market during the second quarter and got out again in the game to 15 or 16 to 1.
Yeah, got out to $16. I think we had 2 or 3 bets at $100 at the $12 mark, which is what they were before the game. So not really. No one liked the Giants. No one liked the Suns against Richmond. Everyone backed Richmond. So, but they did like Fremantle on Friday night.
And the least winners, which is the old wooden spoon market, I suspect at sportsbet.com.au, that's changed significantly given the Giants win.
Yeah, Giants have changed in all of their markets. So they're now $4 to have the least wins of the market. And unfortunately for St Kilda, they're now favourites to have the least wins of the season, which is quite surprising. It's only 1 week, though. Let's not get too carried away.
Well, they could be 3 or 4 zip, according to Bill. But
Yes.
the draw looks good for the next couple of weeks. St Kilda and Melbourne have got worries, so the bottom of the table, unfortunately, is interesting as the top. And Nate Fyfe on Friday night, I suspect he's firmed in Brownlow betting already.
Yes, he has. He's firmed right in. He'll come right in also. And also with the rising star market, with Jack Martin doing the shoulder, we'll reassess that. So in some of the individual ones, I think the best one this year, the hardest one, is going to be the Coleman medal.
Is there a smoky in the rising star now, Lordo, with Jack Martin's injury?
I think the guy who didn't play for the Giants yesterday, Josh Kelly, I think is someone who I really like in terms of once they actually put him in there. But what about, who's the premiership favourite, Fremantle or Hawthorn?
Fremantle will come into equal favourites with Hawthorn now, but I can tell you they've been best backed over the summer, Lottie.
And you think Patton will be the rising star nominee at round 1. It's unbelievable that he's still eligible. So a big effort yesterday. Matty, thanks for that.
My pleasure, Hutch.
Matt Campbell at sportsbet.com.au. Who's everyone tipping tonight, Bill?
Well, I'm going to go with Carlton. I think they can just win. Good game, but and very good odds there for Port Adelaide, BJ.
I'll go the Power. Bill?
Why?
Because I think they'll win.
There's the side there. There's the Carlton side there, of course. And Cruiser there. I'll probably play a bit forward, a bit back. Jared Waite there needs to kick some goals, and they really need a win, Lordo.
Yeah, I think so. And I love Port Adelaide and what they're doing. I think that they're the side that I think their pace might be the thing that worries Carlton, Croft. I think the pace there, you've got Wingard in there. You've got Pollock, who looked really good in the pre-season from the Brisbane Lions. And, it's sort of Ollie Wines, he's not quick, but he's really strong through the midfield. But I think it's the pace of Port Adelaide versus the experience of Carlton, but I think Port Adelaide will get over the line.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Port Adelaide by the way they go about it and all their youngsters. Chad Wingard, what a season he had last year. But I'm thinking the Blues, you look at on paper, their lineup looks very, very strong. I know they've had a reasonable pre-season. They have had injuries, but there's no doubt Mick Malthouse, a lot like Ross Lyon, pretend everything's a bit weak at the moment, but first round smash. And I reckon the Blues will get off to a perfect start and have a really good win and get their season underway. So it's going to be a beauty, Hutchie.
Sunday night football, which we debut for the first time tonight. Are you a fan?
No, not really. Sunday afternoon football, but not Sunday night football. But I suppose the shows that Bill normally watches on a Sunday, he'll have to change the channel.
Yeah.
What about you, Hutch?
SBS.
I'm a massive fan of the States. It's the best time slot in the States on a Sunday night.
But we're not in the States, huh?
No, but Sunday night football is fantastic in America.
Yeah, I know.
One game, the national game.
Hang on. I know. We're in Victoria. We're here at the Docklands, I think.
Bill, give it time. This can be a really good time slot. It's not much on TV on a Sunday night, except the great shows on 9, of course.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be fantastic.
As a player,
Fat Tony.
You'd hate that, wouldn't you, BJ? I think as a viewer, I'd rather go. I love that it's on a Sunday night, but in terms of being a player, and obviously Sticks as president, you'd hate being on a Sunday night.
Oh, I think, yeah, because we'd prefer that Friday night spot, then we can enjoy our weekend. But, sitting around and watching 8, 9 other games all week before we actually get to ours, it would be quite stressful.
Twitter's in meltdown, Bill. They want the sing-off. They want Lordo to man up and show some courage for a change.
They do. Mitchell says, come on, Lordo, don't be scared. Also here it says, man up, Lordo. Take on Hutchie, bring it on. And, of course, this is what we're talking about here. Let's have a look at it again. Hutchie here, his finest moment, a bit of karaoke.
Look at it again, Bill. That's fine. Now,
bouncing around there. Have a look.
Let's do this. So, Lordo, I'll do it if you will for charity. My charity, the Ronald McDonald House. You can pick your charity. We'll have a vote. You can vote on Twitter, and we will have a karaoke off. I want you to man up and make a bit of fun at your own expense.
I'll give 5,000 to your charity, not to sing. I'd rather.
All right, well, we have a deal.
Yeah, no worries.
$5 grand on you.
Right,
you didn't spend $5 in the whole time with Nona, so $5 grand will be a real stretch, I reckon.
Yeah, a couple others here. Great to have the Sunday Footy Show back. #funny. #Billy. And also, there was one here. Oh, Grandpa would love to have his jacket back, BJ. And that's from Paul.
That's cruel, Bill.
Oh, Popsy. That's all on Twitter. Snapchat us, whatever you want to do.
Well, next week's going to be fantastic. Andrew Swallow to join us. The Saints coach, Alan Richardson, will tell us about St Kilda's season ahead and what will be a challenging one for them. And the Demon High Flyer, Jeremy Howe, also will join us from the Melbourne Footy Club. It's great to be back on the Sunday Footy Show. You can get on Twitter at Sun Footy Show to join the conversation. Enjoy your afternoon. We'll see you next week on the Sunday Footy Show.
Yay.